Okay, let's review factoring simple trinomials. So I want to make my x. I'm looking for two numbers that multiply to 12 and add to 8. So I look at what multiplies to 12. So I have 1 and 12, 2 and 6, and 3 and 4. Then I look at which combination would add to 8. So now I have plus 6 and plus 2. So this is equal to x plus 6 and x plus 2. Let's try another one. So I'm looking for two numbers that add to 12 and multiply to 12 and add to 13. So they multiply to 12 and add to 13. So I look at the combinations for 12. We have 1 and 12, 2 and 6, and 3 and 4. Which ones will add to 13? We have 12 and 1. Try one more. We want to look at product of 12 and a sum of 7. So I'm going to write 12 and 7. So I have 1 and 12, 2 and 6, and 3 and 4. So I'm left with 3 and 4. We have x plus 3 and x plus 4. So we can see that they were all products of 12 but different sums. So we picked different combinations to ensure that we got that sum. But if you look at all of these, they also all had positives. We're going to go work with some negatives. So these are factoring trinomials with negatives. So I'm still going to make my x. I want a product of 12 and a sum now of minus 8. So I look for numbers that give me 12. So I have 1 and 12, 2 and 6, and 3 and 4. Which one can give me 8? Well, that would be 6 and 2. But because this is positive and this is negative, both of these need to be negative. So now I look at it's x minus 6 and x minus 2. Okay, let's look at another one. Okay, again, a product of 12, but this time a sum of minus 13. So we have 1 and 12, 6 and 2, and 3 and 4. For 13, I would pick 12 and 1. 13 is negative and 12 is positive, so both of these need to be negative. So I would say x minus 12 and x minus 1. Let's try another one. So we have a product of 12 and a sum of minus 7. So I have 1 and 12, 2 and 6, and 3 and 4, but I need to get to 7. So I'm going to pick 3 and 4. But again, they both need to be negative in order to get positive 12. So I have x minus 3 and x minus 4 as my two brackets. So I want to look for a product of 4 and a sum of minus 4. So the numbers that multiply to 4 are 1 and 4 or 2 and 2. But I need to get to 4 again. So I would pick 2 and 2. Again, they both need to be negative in order to get a positive 4. So I have x minus 2 and x minus 2. And this will give me also x minus 2 squared, because the brackets in this case are the same. Okay, so I want a product of 24 and a sum of minus 11. So 24 is 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, and 4 and 6. So I need to think about what combination would give me 11, well, minus 11. So I would pick 8 and 3. And again, they both need to be negative because the product is positive. Okay, so I have a product of 18 and a sum of minus 9. So I have 1 and 18, 2 and 9, and 3 and 6. So what would give me minus 9 would be minus 3 and minus 6. So I have x minus 3 and x minus 6. I have a product of 18 and a sum of minus 11. So I have 1 and 18, 2 and 9, and 3 and 6. I need to get to minus 11 for a sum, so I need to figure out what combination will work. So I'm going to pick minus 9 and minus 2. Product is positive 18, and the sum is minus 11. And then those become my brackets, x minus 9 and x minus 2. So I have a product of 18 and a sum of minus 19. So I have 1 and 18, 2 and 9, and 3 and 6. I need to get to minus 19, so I'm going to pick minus 1 and minus 18. So I have x minus 1 and x minus 18. So I have a product of 3 and a sum of minus 4. The only numbers that multiply to 3 are 3 and 1. They need to both be negative to get a sum of minus 4. So I have x minus 3 and x minus 1.